All right, my friends, another big piece of the pie this week when it comes to Disney and their world. They have announced that there is a whole new reservation system that will be in place for how you can reserve your theme park days. A lot to cover on this one, and it's something that I find fascinating because the timeline is coming right up here. We're very close to it. And so the new park reservation system called Disney Park Pass is going to roll out to guests in advance of the opening of the parks. And starting June 22nd, Disney Park Pass systems will open to guests with confirmed Disney Resort hotel reservations and linked valid theme park admission, including annual passes. And June 26th, Disney Park Pass systems will open to all annual pass holders regardless of background. And June 28th, Disney Park Pass systems will open to all existing ticket holders. You do have to have a My Disney Experience account. You do have to have a My Disney Experience linked to a reservation for the resorts in order to book if you are trying to get into that window. We've said it before, we'll say it again. It's already so difficult to plan a Walt Disney World vacation when things are fine. Now, all these extra layers have been added on, rightfully to try and control the capacity in the parks and to make this an experience that's still safe and healthy for all. So we definitely want to underscore that. But new layers have been added on to the top of planning your trip. And Garrett, it looks like after Disney Resort hotel reservation holders, annual pass holders are being given preferred treatment over standard ticket holders. How about that, Mr. Disney World annual pass holder?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's interesting how like there's a 4 day gap versus when annual pass holders and the normal guests can go, which is only a 2 day gap. So
Preferred?
the the rides go to the people that are spending more money, which is going to be the people staying at the resort. So it's awesome to hear this. It gives people something to look forward to because oftentimes that's one thing that drives Walt Disney World's successes. People are booking it in advance, and then they have a countdown calendar. So many people have on their phone like 10 days till Walt Disney World, 2 days, 5 days, whatever. So it's very exciting. I just am worried at this new system rolling out because even now, my Disney experience is not is not perfect. It still has many flaws. So I am worried with what this new reservation system is going to look like. Like annual pass holders might be able to get a hang of it faster just because they've been a part of it longer. But if there were first timers, or I would call them rookies that have only been to Walt Disney World a couple times, this is a whole new beast to tackle. So while it is exciting that we can go back into the parks and make our reservations, it's going to be quite an adventure to get from point A to point B.
And it does sound like we're hearing more and more for anybody that had a trip coming up that people are being contacted by Disney right now and asked to move to Disney Vacation Club resorts. We're hearing this within the last 48 hours that people more and more are being contacted and asked to move, sometimes at their own expense. And if they can't, to pay that difference. So it's very interesting. These things are developing. Disney's handling this in the most bizarre ways, and while I'm seeing some great guest service that they're known for on one end, I'm also seeing some very confusing signs on the other, almost like perhaps one side of the company knows something and the other side doesn't. Who knows? I'm definitely not, in that world, but it is something that we're noticing more and more, especially hearing from viewers and people that had trips that were already booked, say through the summertime. Katrina, Disney does state that later this summer, based on availability, sales of 2020 tickets and Disney Resort hotel bookings are going to resume. But from a travel professional's perspective, what do you expect availability to really even look like when everything will be at a reduced capacity anyway?
That's a good question because honestly, because with what you're talking about of guests being notified and trying to be moved to like a DVC hotel, and then I've heard that too, but I've heard that those are the people that have been reserved for like kind of in the summer, not towards the winter. So they could be trying to like phase reopen hotels a little bit down the road. So they're trying to move people who are willing at the moment, trying like, if you're in the summer, but for the winter, we don't really know what it's going to be like yet. And I know they're trying to reopen, they're trying to sell more coming like in the summer to sell tickets and try to sell hotels again. And I do think it's possible because right now I think they're scared They don't want to overbook. They don't want to cause problems. They don't want angry people, riots off their outside their door. So I think they're kind of like playing it safe. And then in the summer, they'll probably reevaluate and then try to start reopening other hotels and then try to start selling tickets and whatnot. So people that actually maybe do possibly have a hotel reservation later, like because they booked it, but they didn't want to do hotel like tickets yet. Now they're finally able to book tickets because they can't do anything on the 22nd of June because they don't have tickets to reserve. But also on that, they are doing like the summer, in the summer, what day? The 28th of June, they're starting to book 2021 reservations, which I think is good because they really want, people to like reserve their hotels and, lock in their reservation. And I think that's what they're trying to do. But I think that honestly, I'm not worried. Like, I think that they're going to try to reopen hotels. Like not all of them, but at least I want to say like a goal of 80% of the hotels by the end of the year.
Wow.
So it's like my hope. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've been like,
guesstimation.
my guess, like, I'm trying, like, we're talking like a travel agency back and forth, like, what our what our opinions are and stuff. And next week we're going to be talking to the sales rep for Disney. So I have like a list of questions. So hopefully it's like a whole question and answer kind of thing where I can jump in and ask questions, but I don't know if we're all going to be muted and they're just going to be talking and telling us stuff. So hopefully they'll give us a little bit more news about it. But what they set out like a couple of days ago raised a lot of questions, and Disney being Disney is they don't tell you the full story yet.
Yeah.
And so everybody goes crazy and like thinks like what's happening and they start guessing what's happening and just wait and see what happens.
I think we say it every week that like nobody has a clue
Yeah. Sure.
about what the world is going to be like, a month from now, 2 months from now. But it still kind of bears repeating that again. This is a weird thing that nobody's seen in anything like this in a bunch of years and many years, and we just need to play it by ear.
Because this whole thing is like they haven't told us anything about how many days pass holders can reserve, how many dates reservations can reserve, how many no one, they haven't even said anything about this yet, which is driving me crazy and as a travel agent because and so it's sadly I have to tell people that as a travel agents can't book these dates for you because you have to sign a waiver when you do this. They did warn us saying you can't go on and book this for your guests anymore. The guests have to physically go in and do it themselves because normally travel agents would go in and talk about and do fast passes for them. That's what they do. Dining, fast pass, that's fine. We'll book it for you because that's what we do. That's what you're paying us for. But for the park system, now we can't even do that. And now we feel kind of helpless because we want to do everything for them. Because again, going to Disney World is stressful. And if you've never gone before, it be chaotic. So even with this added thing, they take away fast passes, but now they have this. And now we're trying to tell the guests, we can't do this for you. You kind of have to sign the waiver because there's a waiver about temperature checks and stuff. So there's just another added level of stress for people. And I'm really sad.
Yep, a lot going on, and you mentioned there about annual pass holders and reservations, and Disney has now just confirmed, and this, again, things keep changing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like hours where 12 hours will go by, and suddenly all these questions get answered all of a sudden, and then another big story comes out about Disney parks and what they're doing to manage things. So we now just learned that annual pass holders can have up to 3 reservations at a time. In terms of theme park visits, park hopping sounds like it's out of the question now.
Yeah.
So you have to pick your park in addition to everything else, but that they can hold on to 3 reservations. What's very interesting about that, I think,
So it's like
is
3 days.
Yeah. What's very interesting about that, I think, is
so stupid.
when you have your annual pass. I mean, if you're a top tier annual pass that basically paid for that luxury of having the entire calendar year unlocked, where you can visit anytime, it's not very clear right now as to how you are differentiated between that pass and, say, a lower tier pass that has a lot of restrictions thrown in. All things that I'm sure they're going to have to make clear, but as of right now, it looks like annual pass holders, it's kind of fair game. You're going to get
That's what we
3
talked about
reservations.
before about the whole tier system, what they could be doing. And now we're going to be kind of like on the same level. It's like whoever kind of gets on the reservation system faster is going to get it, kind of like the fast passes, which, it's great and all, but it kind of sucks because we pay for, 2 parks, 2 coasts. So I'm like, oh, God, now there's like an extra level, and we're like have to make sure we book. But at least we stay at a resort in Disney World, so we'll be fine.
I wonder if certain passes will have priority over other passes. That could very well happen. It will have to wait and see. And you're like you just said, Wade. It's like they've got to know. They've got to say something about this stuff. It's got to be clear before they reopen. So
I feel like they like to wait up in their like little clouds, and they're like, "Ha ha! I love when I don't give all the information yet."
You're right. They do love to wait, but they want to make sure that people are still coming, and if they're going to come out and say, no, we're not opening till August or September or whatever, then they're just going to lose a lot of reservations and a lot of different people that want to go and spend money there. So they when coronavirus first really came about, they kept on announcing, oh yeah, well, we'll open up like a month from now, and then they pushed that back, and then they did it again. Like they did it a few times before they were like, okay, we'll let you know when we're going to open, So, but they need to keep the books filled because that's their moneymaker.
Well, for the sake of planning, they need to be upfront about what's being offered and
You're
what
right.
people can do.
You're right.
And so in that regard, if you're only dropping nuggets of information as you go and you're forcing everybody to have to react and freak out because you're not getting the questions answered, but they're just giving you sort of a baseline surface information category, like what are you going to do? You have to beat them into submission to get a response. Just come out with the information, just tell people so that they can plan. It's already been stressful enough trying to figure out how to do this.
Well, I think they don't know themselves. I really don't think they know, because I'm still hearing back and forth things between like the cast member union and the Disney company and everything. And I mean, like I told you guys through text a couple days ago that like the last thing that I heard was like they might not even be requiring cast members to wear masks at Disneyland. Well, obviously that's going to change now with what happened in Orange County, but they don't even know what's happening, and there's still cast member protests and things happening. We know a number of people that they're not ready to go back to work yet because they're afraid for their safety. They have people at home that, are not maybe the healthiest. They're high risk people. And then they have to go back home and what are they going to, can they trust guests? It's all this big, all these questions. There's so many questions right now that unfortunately, I don't think anybody could possibly have the answer to all of them. So, and I think Disney included.
Come on, Chapek.
I know, Junior, get your act together, grow some hair. No,
it's
sorry.
like you don't plot to reopen something this big if you don't already have answers in place. If you don't already know what you're going to do, then maybe it's a bad idea to move forward.
I think
there should be like a wall full of like sticky notes and like tape and like all these things about if we do this, and then have like this whole plan
maybe this solution
out.
in here. Yeah.
I think you're completely right that they should be more together on this stuff, but from just the behind the scenes things that I've been hearing, it doesn't sound like they have their business together, and it's kind of scary, and I blame Bob Chapek 100%. No, I don't.
Where's the echo? Chapek.
3, 2, 1.
Chapek.
Wow, there we go. There's your update. As of right now, that's where things stand for the new reservation system in place for Walt Disney World. Who knows what it will look like when it comes to Disneyland? Probably some sort of shell, but we will definitely keep our eye on it for you.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.